I was so grateful to be able to have a mic. I didn't know if I'd be able to throughout the whole thing. So, yay. But I got to tell you, I certainly understand when it comes to energy and electronics. I don't know how many times I have gone up to a counter to pay for something, and immediately they freeze up right away. Of course, it's my way of trying to get a discount. Sometimes it's kind of nice when you have that kind of energy. Oh, well, that's not the real price, is it? So, often what happens is I have to stand back away from the counter. And then the machine starts working again. And I do remember there was a time where, sure enough, they froze up. And I said, well, I'll stand away from the counter and don't worry about it. You know, once I stand away, it's going to come back on. And they were like, oh, yeah, right. Ah! So I stood away and came back and I thought you were kidding. My girlfriends hated going to lunch with me because the thing would stop working every time. I used to have one of my girlfriends pay my bill because the thing frees up. So, all right. So why don't we go to get started? And you have to give me a little bit of a symbol. I'll give you wrap it up. All right, thank you. Well, I think you guys have heard a lot about my DNA activations. I think you know that a little bit of what some people would consider to be a Martian. And I have rolled out my antennas with bobby pins, so it's not obvious. So one of the main things that I definitely want to talk about that we are all in synchronicity, every single one of us, at all times. And when it comes down to those synchronicities, sometimes there are glitches in those synchronicities that can cause different types of, a different way to go a different direction, or you can have a false connection in between something that may be an error. So it's really interesting to see how intelligence really works. Now, one of the things that we need to be most aware of is the spoken word. And you realize that there are languages out there that one letter is actually a spoken word in itself. We're thinking about Hebrew, Chinese, Japanese, and a lot of these different type of languages that are very much an attitude. This way. This is a different way to hold energy, but it's pretty good for your biceps. All right, then. So what starts to happen is, what if I called you a purple strawberry with whipped cream on top? And you're like, how dare you, you apple-pectin fudge wafer. What make a whole lot of sense? And it doesn't salt it, you called me a what? A purple strawberry? Or you? So, let me tell you something. Language has consciousness. And whatever has consciousness is life force. And unless it really means something to you, remember, a particle isn't anything until it's observed. Then it comes to life. So what you give consciousness to is what you're going to be giving life to. Remember that. So if you are being very negative and you are beating yourself up or you are using curses to bring yourself down, you're literally creating a wave of consciousness that could build on itself. And then it connects to everybody else that beats himself up. And it adds to that consciousness. And next thing you know, you've got a mass consciousness of something that could be tearing up your own life force or your own DNA. So what if I told you there's no such thing as artificial intelligence? Haven't you heard that artificial intelligence is going to take over mankind? Does that make sense to you? That somebody in their left brain would create a being that would eradicate human life, even their own job, in order to create a better world? I'm sure that's not computing. There is no... You don't have to
you don't mind it. I think it's
I think,
Would it be better if I just yelled out?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. So here's the thing, and really holding that thing feels very kind of ritualistic. Oh, so here we go. I know where your minds went. See, that's consciousness. All righty then. Now we got your minds in the gutter. Let's talk consciousness and intelligence. Here we go. All right, there's no such thing as artificial intelligence. Got that? There's only intelligence. All intelligence has frequency. That whether you got it on your computer, you got it on your phone, or you got it on your spiritual path, it is all frequency and vibration. All of it. The difference is what you are accessing in order to utilize the intelligence that is coming through. So the first artificial intelligence that we have experienced as a species is narcissism. Think about that. Narcissism. The narcissistic, egoic principle. Because what you have is either the God principle, or the God particle, or the egoic particle. That's it. All intelligence will access one or the other. And that is what's going to make the difference. We know that we are love. We know that we are a part of God, that the I am is all things. That's all about love. It's all about the source of our souls, who we are, how we experience our connection to God, yet why do we feel disconnected? Why do we do things that are not loving? Why are we in fear? Well, it's called narcissism, the egoic principle, the egoic particle. So when artificial intelligence is at work, it's what's keeping you from your authentic selves. And what keeps you from your authentic self is the belief that intelligence is the key to immortalization. Don't they want super beings? Don't they want brains that can create more brains and they replicate themselves until higher intelligence, until you've got these super beings that can access all information? And yet they act as though we're so darn dumbed down that we don't have access to all that information. Now, don't we just use a small part of our brains, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they basically got us dumbed down to really consciously accessing about, I don't know, 10%, 12% of our brains. You know what these wonderful symbols that are coming through are doing? They're opening up our minds. They're opening up our brains. They're opening up our language. All frequency, vibration is language. What you resonate to and what resonates to you is language. And the language we speak has a lot to do with our access of consciousness. If we use a universal light language, you will start accessing light language. Your consciousness will change automatically. What you resonate to and what resonates to you will change automatically. So let's look at the spoken word in English. Spelling. See a little word in there? Spell. But he gets spell on you. All right, language is magic, folks. And if people are smart enough to create a language that could contain your consciousness and you start speaking it, guess what you're going to start doing? So, hello. Why can't we say heaven-o? Is there a problem? That's strange, isn't it? Why would they say hello? It's like, hello. It's not very nice, is it? So, I'm going to convince you. Come on, I'm calling you. I'm going to convince you. Any words with the word pro in it? Proactive, it's right. Do you know that if you took words and put that S in front of it, you got swords? Oh, what do you think's happening there? Yeah, cut other stuff, right? So what is happening is when you've got the magic of the spoken word, you are creating your consciousness. You're creating your own spells. You're creating your own magic. You're creating the world that you live in. And when all this stuff is downloaded to us in our vocabulary, we accept it unconditionally, so we can read and write the spoken, the spoken word. Now, somebody says, do not walk on the grass over there. I can walk where I want. See ya. All right, then there's a sign that says, do not walk on the grass. Guess what you do? You don't walk on the grass. We are obeying the written words, the spoken words, and all these things that are put into our being. How many times has that Bible been rewritten? We have the final King James Version, which absolutely identifies King James' ego. It's excellent. I found God in King James. It's in himself. You look at these the original Gaelic or the original interpretation of the Bible is completely different than the Bible of today. It certainly is. This is the written word, and if you think one other thing outside of it, guess where you're going? Hello. There we go. Hello. That's what you get for not believing what you're told. Right down you go. So here's the thing. When we start, thinking of all the things slipped up underneath us and outside of us, what is the real God-written word? Love. Love. One word, love. Everything stems from love. Unconditionally. That is love. That is the I am God particle. Love. The I am. I would suggest get up in the morning, go, I am God that I am. I am God that I am. Your resonance is going to be kind of different. Of course, there will be others yelling blasphemy. There's your God. Oh yeah, I am God that I am. I am God that I am, because you know what you are. Everything that comes out of you is your representation of the image of God that God made you with. So what happens when we have some egoic, artificial intelligence that says, no, you're not. You're what I'm going to tell you you are. See, how does this happen? How does these kind of things happen? Well, whatever has consciousness is life force, and it builds on itself. So things can happen where, our DNA has been modified, I don't know how many times. And in those modifications are some of the consciousness of what they would like us to be free evolutionary beings, and others would like us to be slaves. And they're in a frequency war right now. We're in the middle of a frequency war. You know why we're gathered here? To show them who is God. That's why we're here. Our team wins. We're the ones. Well, when you've got an egoic particle, does not know any better. And what I'm going to give you is a representation that's kind of a scenario. Let's look at CERN. Have you guys heard that CERN is not going to bring in every devil this side of the Mississippi? It's going to open portals every which way. And of course, everything that has happened in space from time on, being evil or good, is going to come through, right? Well, it doesn't have to be that way. This is a very sad attempt to bring in the egoic particle as the, why not say the true God, but all it is a representation, because all things are part of the God I am. There's no other thing outside of the God I am. Even that which is in form is a part of the God I am. And what is in form is anything that has a condition, has a belief system, or has a consciousness that keeps you from love. That is in form. There's just no other way it's going to be. So this was a very interesting experiment to me. And I looked at this and I listened to a lot of deals, and I realized that what is happening in CERN was the God particles were coming up against the antimatter and matter. There's some very good people at CERN. There's people that really want to discern and really understand the God particle. Then you got some others in there that would like to access it to bring in more of an egoic particle, access through quantum entanglement, all artificial DNA in order to modify our own DNA. This is not a new principle, folks. Everybody's yelling and screaming that this CERN is going to change us, but narcissism has been around for eons. Nothing is new here. And my thanks to Janine Bowen, who did some excellent work with CERN. You are an angel. So, she did some great work, folks. She's a physicist and she is smart. So, she's keeping it within the God particle. We all can. We can all access consciousness, artificial intelligence into the God particle. You're doing it right now through your symbols, you know who you are, through consciousness, through the activations, through your other, and changing your belief systems. There is no way that egoic particle is going to get you. We have the ability to close portals. If something opens up that is not to our highest good, we have the ability through our love and light to close these portals. Nobody said, oh great, a manhole just showed up and we're running for our lives. Are we powerless, folks? So understand all this fear-based stuff that's coming out at you is just that. It's to keep you, if you believe you can be accessed, then you are already accessed by the egoic particle. Then we know how narcissism is. Narcissism says, you can only believe one thing, you can only think one way, I must have endless adulation, or it's not worth it. And of course, the martyr gets created through narcissism that says, I will continue to serve and serve and serve and serve until God loves me, or until I'm acceptable. And then we have the martyr part, the martyring of the crucifixion brought forth. Somehow the redemption gets missed. What happened there? You ever see the murdering Christ? All blood. Let's remind you that you hung on there because of you. You get to get reminded of that every day. And what happens? So this, this starts to access the consciousness of guilt, suffering, pain. Where's the redemptive Christ? We are. We are. We're the redemptive cosmic Christ energy. That is why he came down with his message in the first place. This is who we are. We're not the Antichrist. Golden Eagle was right. You start thinking differently, you are accessing Antichrist energy. You are telling yourself that you're powerless, you're not all that, you're not love, there's something wrong with you. Well, why would there be anything that would say that you have to prove or seek for yourself in order to get salvation? And those who feel that I'm more favored by God than you because I have the right race, religion, thoughts, This is all programmed consciousness in order to keep you in quantum entanglement that is in slavery. All we have is, when we start getting through frequency and vibration, it's only a matter of time that you're going to start creating electronics and different sources of information through technology that's going to help you in your workload and everything else you're going to do. Do you know you can attach your computer to the God particle? You're like, yeah, how do we do that? Offerings, incense. We roll up. God, It's all part of the God particle anyway. And you can attach any intelligence around you, to your phone, and everything. Do you know symbols are around here every day? Stop. What do you think a stop sign is? Is it an octagon? Do you know that an octagon is a natural broadcast shape? How about that? A natural broadcast shape. Do you know that if you put in an attention in an octagon, it will broadcast? Now, it's not, Mom, don't call me for dinner. You can't do that. But if you really want to put a really good intention or put a belief system, or even to yourself, an octagon is a broadcaster. So if you got an octagon yelling stop, what do? You try to run it as close as you can and not get caught.
They don't like me telling what to do, right? Okay, we do have to have order, we have to have structure. I mean, this is part of consciousness. There is organization, there is a place for structure, folks, because that's what these symbols are. They're a beautiful, contained structure of consciousness and language that we can access and that we can bring into our DNA, bring into our everyday living, and we automatically change. Why? Because we're resonating differently, and what's attracted to us is resonating differently. You ever heard of that magnetic personality? It doesn't mean that you're going to attract every steel refrigerator you pass. There's a reason they call you magnetic. You are. Your energy is. I may have gotten up next to somebody go, wow, I like this person. What is it about them? Or, you know, a beautiful song, music, frequency. Beautiful song. I mean, you know, they have Beethoven, Mozart, Haydn, and this stuff is so high that, you know, it's just, it can change your DNA. Music can change your DNA. It can also do some very interesting things to it. I know that I went and saw a concert called Acid Jazz, and they were playing 6 songs at once, differently. By the time I got out of there, I was completely rearranged. You know, harmony. Harmony. Seek harmony. Seek harmony of the elements. If you're in a situation that is very uncomfortable or something does not seem correct to you, try to identify the energy source. Find something you can harmonize with. Find something you can harmonize with and then bring in that higher consciousness and things will start to change. I guarantee you. Transformation is key. You know, Amanda talked earlier where these people bubbled and, you know, did one of these. Well, when your DNA is changing, you are transformation. It's transformation that is going on. And what happens then to the structure of the body? Bubble down. It's very tough on your liability insurance, though. So okay, your limits will go up. Levitation is very hard to explain. Well, my clients do levitate occasionally. Good night. So I understand that we're in a whole different level of thinking now. We're the pioneers. We're bringing it higher. So, you know, I do a level of thing. My DNA activations basically utilize the number 8. Here's the spider, the number 8. That's so cool. And basically what it's done is I found a method of using a way of filling in a place where maybe a false connection got put into our DNA, and I'm able to bring in the 8 into its rightful place. And if you get on your calculators and you do 1 divided by 9, you get all these 1s, divided by 9 again, and then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and it keeps going out. So a false connection, kind of a false DNA connection, somebody saw an opportunity to probably program an illusion between the 7 and the 9. Since we're number 1s and we're all not I ams, we have to find a way to put that 8 back in. So you want a mutable of 8 and 9. So I use the divine 72, which is a mutable of 8 and 9. And because 72 divided by 9 equals 8, 8 divided by 72 equals 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. They don't call it the divine 72 for nothing, folks, or the 72 names of God. Mutable numbers, numbers that encompass mutable resonation, are what your crop circles are made out of. The number 12, 12 times 6 equals 72. Tesla says our DNA is made up of 3s, 6, and 9s, and 12. So put that 8 back in its proper sequence. You got some very, very powerful things going on. 8 is divine manifestation, and it's a number of infinity, and it's a symbol. All numbers are symbols. All numbers have their own resonation. The one is the I am, and of course, when you get into your own everyday being through quantum entanglement, access each other's higher consciousness. Access the love that we are bringing through, because you will be surprised how many of you will come together and meet within your own synchronization. You know, you synchronize, you find each other, and you help each other. Watch your words. Do not curse yourselves. Oh, I can't afford this. Oh, knock it off. I'm not choosing to pay for this at this time. Watch don'ts. Do you know don't and do have the same paradigm? Don't do. Just add a couple extra. You know, most of the time you say don't forget, you will. That's kind of how it works. You guys are magical. Every one of you. Express that. Know that. Don't create through the magic that is given to you through a consciousness that demands your containment. Intelligence is emotional. It's the soul. That is the truth of all things, whether it be in your computers or whether it be in your soul. Frequency, vibration, all belong to the God I am, and it's all love. Never forget that. Remember, I am God, that I am. Great talking.